I've made a decision on whether to stay here one more day or not. And right now it's about 9:30 a.m. The wind is out of the northwest, so that would give me a nice downwind run towards the Fraser River. But the tide doesn't turn till later today, so I don't want to get to the river till about 7 p.m. With that said, winds are going to taper off this afternoon to light and variable, so I either leave now and get to the river way too early with a sail, or I leave later and get there in time, but I'll probably have to motor. So this little birdhouse is right next to the cockpit, and this little guy sure likes to chirp a lot. I'd like to move the boat for him, but we just have to try and get along. So it's time to leave Silva Bay, and I'm glad I'm going because these guys have been playing their music all day. Kind of takes away from being a little disconnected from the big city. Otherwise, Silva Bay is quite nice and quiet. Just left Silva Bay, and it was a nice relaxing afternoon. Other than this giant catamaran that looked brand new, playing loud music all afternoon. They left literally at the exact same time as me, so I didn't even get to enjoy a few minutes of silence once they started their music today. They really annoyed a lot of people at the marina, talking to other people on the docks. Inconsiderate boaters. It was probably a charter boat. Anyways, there's my rant. The wind is out of the southeast, it looks like. Just very light wind. And I'm headed southeast, so it may be right on my nose. If it is, I'm just going to motor. The sea conditions look really flat out there. And if the point of sail can be done based on the course I need to go, then I will sail if there's enough wind. It's about 17 miles from Silva Bay to Sand Heads. That's the entrance of the Fraser River. And what I do to estimate time and distance on my boat is I know my boat motors at 6 knots, and I know it sails on average 6 knots if there's enough wind. So what I do is I just knock that number down a little bit to 5 knots. I've got 17 miles to go, so what I'll do is I'll round that up to 20 miles, and I'm going to give myself 4 hours. So just 5 knots times 4 is 20. It usually works out, give or take a little. I always like to overestimate my time, so I give myself more than enough time. And checking the distances I need to travel before I leave is a good way to sort of give yourself enough time. And I've only just calculated the distance to the entrance of the Fraser because that's where I want to know what time will I get there based on what the tide is doing. And that's what I did with Portage Pass the other day. I did the same thing, and Dodd Narrows. Although once I was through Portage Pass, I was kind of stuck inside. I knew I had lots of time to get to Dodd Narrows. But it usually works out pretty good. Just 5 is an easy number to calculate, and rounding your distance in fractions of 5 is an easy way to calculate that with number 5. Anyone know any good jokes? I just saw a fish jump. That was exciting. I saw some kelp back there, and it's been out here so long it had seaweed growing off of it. I heard a good saying the other day. You can't buy happiness, but you can buy a sailboat, which is pretty much the same thing. This reminds me of that episode of Motoring Canada that I did with Mads, coming back from Ganges to Steveston. I just remembered another good saying. Always be yourself. Unless you can be a sailor, then always be a sailor. I still have 6 miles to go, and I've just reached the area where the river meets the ocean water, and I've already slowed down by 1 knot, and that just gives you an idea of how far out that Fraser River affects the currents. Well, I guess it's safe to say I'm in the river. It is 6:30 p.m. and I'm still doing just over 4 knots. So I hope that I can keep doing that for a while, and just my speed might increase as I go further up the river. And you can see how my estimates for today's travel worked out fairly accurately. I averaged the 5 knots. I increased the 17 miles to 20, and I departed at 3 p.m. wanting to get here by 7, and I'm a little ahead of schedule. Anyways, there's a bit of traffic, so I better pay attention, and hopefully I can keep this speed up for a while. I'll check in a bit. The sun is almost down, and I'm gonna say my goodbyes here rather than back at the marina. And I really hope you guys enjoyed coming along for the trip and seeing some new places. And I should let you know I have another trip planned soon, and I'll even tell you a little bit about it. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna take off on So as you can see, it's going to be a pretty awesome trip, and I'm really excited to bring you guys along, and I hope you're excited to follow along. So we'll see you on the next video.